I mean, octopus is a very intelligent creature. If you have intelligence with you, you automatically somewhat dangerous.
A few moments later.
Capture small prey more easily.
Not so smart now, octopus. Original, somos reaction. This is the crustacean tier list. This was channel TierZoo. What is a crustacean? Is that a period or something? I'm guessing it's something about shrimps or something. Okay, crustacean. Wait a minute, let me Google this. So crustacean means like crabs and all that. Shrimp. Oh, those are called crustacean. I didn't know that. So this is going to be interesting. What are those crabs called, right? Who like finds a shell and takes it, right? Which is always surprising when I see like they have like weird can or something that somebody threw. They take that as a shell. Fallout had that thing with the Nuka World DLC, right? Where they took like whole wrecked van and things. So when you go near it, you realize that it's a crab or something. They take but they're really good at this, like finding real world things and implementing like that. So are that tough? One thing I realized from TierZoo is that like you think something is tough, you realize that's basically average, and something else entirely is really tough. That's the one thing I learned from this channel. So yeah, there's no point of guessing. Let's watch it. Remember, like my Erickson, don't forget to subscribe. So that way you can support this channel by helping the algorithm and things. I do a lot of different type of videos like TierZoo, military, history, and gardens, anything that interests me. Let's just say. So YouTube sometimes gets confused, like what channel are you? This and So sometimes it's like channels doing well and suddenly like will stagnate because I'm changing the content or something. So by liking and subscribing, you're telling YouTube like helping the algorithm that way. And yeah, check out the link in the description. There you find other videos or the end of the video end card. And yeah, that's what it. Damn, okay. Whoa!
Crustaceans are some of the most popular builds in the entire game. In fact, they're so popular that it's become sort of a meme that every player will eventually drop their current character and switch to being a crab main. But just how competitively viable are crustaceans really? Which unique abilities does the crustacean class make use of that enabled them to become such a resilient force across so many of the game's expansions and balance patches? And are they actually an optimal build choice in the current meta? Or are they just an easy-to-pilot, low-skill floor character? We'll discuss all this and more as we rank the most notable builds on the crustacean tier list. This video was sponsored by GiveWell. Before we get into the tier list, let's first discuss the crustacean faction's general game strategy and the key abilities they use to accomplish it.
I remember at least in the old TierZoo videos, he takes everything into account, implying the even survivability account, right? Just from that, I'm guessing crabs won't be at top, just because humans basically eat them, hunt them and eat them, I'm guessing.
Crustaceans are part of the larger faction of arthropods, and so crustaceans inherit all of the main perks of the arthropod class. The most important one, of course, is their exoskeletal armor, which provides a huge defense boost. Given that most crustaceans have to contend with some of the most dangerous builds in the game, this extra protection is crucial to their viability. Their carapace, which is the thickest, sturdiest, and most important link in their armor, can block attacks from seabird beaks, fish jaws, and many of the other threats common in aquatic environments. It does, however, have the same weakness as all exoskeleton-type builds, which is that their defense stat drops drastically for a short time when leveling up. If their armor ever does fail them, this doesn't immediately mean game over. Crustaceans have the incredible ability to regenerate HP after taking damage, even being able to regrow entire limbs. So even something as devastating as losing a claw or a leg isn't something crustaceans can't recover from, and in fact can be the optimal play to distract an opponent and escape a fight. This ability makes crustaceans a very beginner-friendly build, as you can make a lot of mistakes and still progress through your playthrough relatively unhindered. Crustaceans also have uniquely specialized limbs that come to 2 points rather than 1. This makes it super straightforward to spec them into various different specialized opposable claws, which can be optimized for slicing, crushing, piercing, or grappling.
Yeah.
I've said in the past that I think crustaceans are a broadly mid-tier class, and I think this still holds up. Crustaceans have a lot of interesting tools at their disposal, but due to their middle-of-the-road stat spread, They are constantly fighting an uphill battle against the many high-tier threats they need to contend with, and have to play things perfectly to not get run over in these matchups. So, let's see how the individual crustacean builds fare and get into the tier list.
वेबसाइट बनाना एक जटिल
I knew TierZoo will basically recognize the survival element, right? High tier as in humans, eagle and shit like that.
Starting us off in F tier, we have the barnacle. The barnacle is a crustacean build with an almost completely AFK strategy. As a barnacle larva, you find a spot and then attach to it and filter feed for the rest of your playthrough. Now, I'm not dunking on players who enjoy idle games. I'm a fan myself. However, this strategy does have some major flaws. Despite the fact that barnacles have the highest defense stat of any crustacean, the survivability of a barnacle is entirely contingent on their choice of parking space. Barnacles can attach to just about any surface, from ship holes to cement walls, to whales and even other crustaceans. Choosing a spot on a non-living surface leaves the barnacle vulnerable to predators. As high as their defense stat may be, there are plenty of builds that are willing to invest in anti-shell defense abilities, like the acidic attacks of the starfish or the drilling attacks of the whelk snail, neither of which are uncommon on the reefs and coastlines that barnacles call home. But if they opt for a living host, which is easier said than done by the way, then their survivability is completely tied to the survival of their host, a tenuous gambit in a metagame as hostile as the ocean server. Whales are a pretty safe choice, but opportunities to secure real estate on a whale are few and far between. Much more likely you'll need to settle for property on the shell of another crustacean, which, as we'll see later on this list, is quite a gamble. Personally, I'd say if you want to play a mostly AFK marine build, opt for the scallop, as you'll still get to chill and filter feed most of the time, but can still escape if need be.
Alright. For a long time I didn't know barnacles were a thing. I thought it was just like a weird thing, right? And one day I just realized, wait a minute, it's an actual... What is a barnacle really? Like, it's like a genuine, animal, like shrimps and things, which is attached to things and just like live off from it or something. Because I didn't even know it was something like that. I just thought, I didn't even know it was a living thing, not gonna lie. All the way to, I'm guessing, what, 2014 or something? When was the Fallout 4 came out? I guess it was that time. And I remember seeing those things in like everywhere, right? And it's just like, in the game, it threw some kind of poison or something at you when you go closer. What the fuck is that? Then I realized, wait a minute, it's an actual living thing. Like, yeah, what type of living thing it is, so I'm still confused on that part. Like, I really need to, TierZoo, somebody's really need to make a video. I'm guessing they're not going to make it if it's like, it's saying like it's F tier. But I don't know, what type of crustacean it is though? Is it equal to like shrimps and all that? It's just, something that just chose to be, idle like that. Just like, grab. It's really weird when you see all these like sea creatures like whale and things that has a lot of them.
Also in F tier, we have the shrimp. Now, shrimp are a super diverse group with a ton of interesting strategies. But in general, shrimp make very poor use of the crustacean build's unique abilities. Broadly speaking, shrimp have weak legs, no eye stalks, and small claws. No eye stalks might seem trivial, but eye stalks are actually a pretty useful ability, allowing a player to take cover in the sand or under the seabed, while still remaining vigilant. Shrimp rely heavily on that same strategy, but because they cannot surveil their surroundings while hiding, a clever predator can easily just wait until they resurface and pick them off. Attacking a shrimp is also a lot less risky than attacking most crustaceans, as their damage-dealing abilities are far worse than the rest of the faction. The shrimp's scaled-down appendages are a trade-off meant to buff its mobility. Shrimps have spec'd into shorter, flatter legs that increase their aquatic movement speed in a way somewhat reminiscent of a fish's pelvic fins. This is a neat idea that means shrimp can freely swim rather than walking along the ocean floor. But in practice, this kind of just meant that shrimp ended up as the seahorses of the crustacean faction, a tankier but slower moving swimmer that can't adequately defend itself or evade attacks, so it gets bullied by every other nearby player. Shrimp do have one escape ability, in that they can very quickly dash backwards, but this is of course very predictable and exploitable by experienced players. Now, it's important to note that while they may not have the best stats, crafty shrimp mains have been able to reach some level of viability in the meta, either by speccing into debuff cleansing abilities and playing as a predator support class, or by abusing a quirk of the game engine which allows them to fire off powerful short-range sonic projectiles called cavitation bubbles that can stun other players. These are both respectable strategies that merit higher tier placement, but as a whole, shrimp are stuck in the bottom tier.
Okay, there's already 2F. Like, usually there is nothing in F, right? It usually starts with D. Sometimes, yeah, but crustaceans even apparently has 2F already. That's something. Oh, this is like insane, right? It's like, this feels like an RPG game, right? When you play an RPG game, you don't know how to spec what because you don't know the fucking game. You spec something, realize like early on some of the stats that you chose. It's not gonna be much for anything. You just like have one special ability and everything else sucks. Then game becomes a grind early on. This feels like that.
First, in D tier, we've got the isopod. Other than the barnacle, which literally cannot move, the isopod has the highest base defense stat of any crustacean on this list. Its shell is perfect for deflecting attacks, and when they curl into a ball like an armadillo, there are very few predators that can threaten them unless they're several orders of magnitude larger outright. However, the isopod has essentially no damage-dealing abilities whatsoever. It has no attacks, no poison, nothing to threaten aggressive players with, and so against a persistent attacker it will essentially always lose. Isopods are a diverse and widely distributed group, with both terrestrial and aquatic variants. The terrestrial variants, known as woodlice, pillbugs, and roly-polies, function very similarly to miniature cockroaches, using their flat shape to wedge themselves into hard-to-reach positions, and only leaving the safety of these places in order to scavenge for loot. The larger aquatic variants of the isopod are usually similar in their strategy, but can also opt for a parasitic playstyle, where they actually fuse with a fish player, destroying and replacing the fish's tongue. This parasitic strategy is great for farming XP and is super AFK, but does come with pretty much all the same risks I mentioned about the barnacle. If the fish gets attacked and defeated, the isopod usually goes down with the ship. Technically, if given the chance, they could detach and escape, but in the marine meta, chances like that are quite rare, and without a host, they're likely to just get picked off anyway. Not the worst crustacean, but it's leaving a lot on the table not making use of the crustacean's highly customizable forelimbs.
If it's already not apparent to you, I'm getting creeped out a bit. I don't like, watching bugs type, like cockroach type of, any bugs type of things, right? So watching this, I don't even, the barnacles gave me is just like weird feeling. I don't know why, but yeah, just creeping me out. But yeah, seriously, like this, support type of things, right? We just like latch onto these fishes and things. It's really surprising when you see nature. I mean, obviously, like millions of years of evolution makes sense, but every time, like, there's like presets, right? They just, as soon as they get born, they know what to do, right? I like how watching that, what was that, crab? Yeah, basically trying to dig inside, the bottom floor of the, whatever you call, right? Inside, ocean floor, whatever, trying to get into the sand and whatever, just try to hide and shit, going inside the fish's mouth, just pretend to be its tongue. All this is all to just survive.
Next in D tier we have the crayfish, also known as the crawdad. This is a smaller variant of the lobster subclass.
Yeah, I was about to say it looks like lobster.
Freshwater servers. This means that unlike the lobster, which needs to be prepared to contend with the likes of sharks, octopus, eels, and the multitude of dangerous threats you'd find in the ocean servers, the worst things a crayfish might run into would probably be something like a turtle or largemouth bass. And yet, even in this much less punishing environment, crayfish still underperform. They have solid matchups against frogs, which is true of essentially every other build in existence as well, and they can sometimes hold their own against freshwater fish due to their armor, but pretty much anything beyond that and they begin to struggle. They don't have claws that are anywhere near as powerful as some of the other crustaceans on this list, and so when confronted with an adversary, they often lose if they can't escape. Their only real advantage is that their smaller size opens up a lot of additional options to where they can run for cover and hide, as they can fit into very small openings between rocks and debris on a riverbed. However, because they often aggregate so close to the shoreline, they're vulnerable to being picked off by birds, whose pinpoint precision strikes can hit them even in partial cover. Without proper offensive capabilities, they'll always find themselves outclassed by their more powerful relative. A build which I think we've name-dropped enough times already to just go ahead and move on to.
Okay, so freshwater is, I'm guessing it means river and things, river, lakes and things like that, right? While saltwater obviously being ocean. So I guess ocean is like Africa server and river is like any other. Is that what it is? If you're gonna go with that, right? How Africa server is like the most dangerous one according to TierZoo, obviously. This is TierZoo Wikipedia, let's just say. So how is this Africa server? Ocean is that, a river, and it's like, I don't know, Asian server.
First in C tier we have the lobster. Lobsters are a solid marine tier build with lots of strengths, the most obvious of which is their incredibly large and powerful claws, which grant the lobster one of the highest grip strengths in the entire game, able to easily crush through the defenses of just about any other player, and inflict devastating damage in the process. This is excellent for defense, and also for taking control of an objective or point of interest.
Yeah, I forgot. Lobster is the most dangerous thing there is. Don't you remember that lobster with a fucking knife? Come here.
On the seafloor. Similar to shrimp, lobsters also have fairly decent mobility, although the only direction they can move quickly is directly backwards. This is all quite solid, however, the lobster does have its own share of weaknesses in addition to the standard crustacean weaknesses. This backward mobility is fairly limiting, and means that attacking a lobster from behind often leaves them with very little counterplay options, as their claws cannot reach backwards, and if they try to use their burst mobility option...
I mean, octopus is a very intelligent creature, right? So, if you have intelligence with you automatically somewhat dangerous. So I'm guessing octopus obviously would fuck up, lobster easily. Lobster? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so crab easily, right? Wait a minute. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so obviously if you're an intelligent creature like octopus, yeah, you would fuck up even lobster or something like that because you know how to corner it basically, right? So you know like lobster is the one who's like faster, reversing. So you would make sure that it like backs up against some kind of a rock or something to take it out or something. I don't know.
Their only choice will be to move directly towards you, unless they slowly reposition themselves so that their back faces away from the threat. Now, this is in contrast to the next build on our list, which I think is a bit more versatile in its mobility. Next
True
in C tier, we
crabs.
finally arrive at the crab build, the poster child for the crustacean class, and one of the most reliable and consistent mid-tiers in the entire game. Crab claws are...
Not gonna lie, I thought lobster and crabs are the same thing. Not gonna lie, crabs with those kind of claws. Wait a minute. So the knife thing, was that a lobster or was that a crab? Now I'm confused. You remember that famous clip from somewhere that it had a knife? Was it a crab or a lobster?
Are extremely customizable, able to be optimized for whatever best suits the current meta. Some spec into smaller, more precise claws that enable to capture small prey more easily. Some spec into sharp-edged claws used
Not so
for
smart
slashing
now,
at
octopus.
soft-bodied opponents, such as cephalopods. And some opt for pointed claws, perfect for jabbing at pesky fish who can't mind their business. However, the thing that really sets crabs apart from other crustaceans is that they've opted not to spec into the pleon trait. The pleon is the rear abdomen seen on most other crustaceans we've discussed so far. It's the tail part which allows shrimp and lobsters to use that special burst mobility option. The trade-off, though, is that the pleon vastly increases their hurt box and functions as a weak point. In order to have the flexibility
Makes sense.
required to give them that quick movement, it can't be as heavily armored as the rest of them. So, while crayfish, shrimp, and lobsters fold pretty quickly when being attacked from behind, crabs can usually just shrug it off. However, just because they can't dash backward instantly like other crustaceans can, doesn't mean crabs are immobile. Instead, crabs focus on lateral mobility, which turns out is often much more useful for dodging attacks. They can quickly swim or dash to the left or right when needed, and although this might not be as impressive as the lobster's dash, it's still often enough to save their life anyway. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that I think crabs are at all overpowered. They still get bodied plenty, especially by builds that spec into high intelligence. But the strategy that goes into optimizing your character's hurt box is not something I think we should overlook, as that actually is a pretty high level play.
Yeah. Isn't this the one I'm talking about? Hermit crab that takes a shell? Oh yeah, it is probably, right? Yeah, the dash thing is like awesome, right? And especially with the crabs who just looks you forward while, running or backwards. It's like, crabs just know where you are when they try to dash.
First, in B tier, we have the hermit crab. Now, unlike basic crabs, hermit crabs do have a pleon, which they need to protect by scavenging and equipping the shell of a defeated snail player. Technically, this means they aren't true crabs, but what really matters is that this ability is busted. It allows them to match the defense stat of the barnacle while retaining their ability to move. And on top of all that, the shells themselves can be augmented with extra perks, courtesy of sea anemone players. And using this combo, hermit crabs can add a toxic sting to their defense too. I won't spend too much time on hermit crabs because I've already got a full video about them, but just understand that they've turned the main weakness of the false crab crustaceans into a major strength. The largest variant of the hermit crab, the coconut crab, can actually reach such giant sizes that it surpasses the need for a protective shell, since there's essentially nothing that's able to threaten it. And by dropping the heavy shell, they gain the ability to climb, which can allow them to even turn the tables on bird mains, which normally have an impressive matchup against crustaceans.
I like it. I was just like, it's supposed to be something. Mine is just like, I'm gonna do it myself, DIY, and the bigger one doesn't need it. Like, fuck it, I'm just big.
Next in B tier, we have the copepod. Now, this may seem like a weird inclusion on this tier list, as I usually don't discuss builds from the microbe weight class.
Exactly.
But copepods really do deserve a mention, as they pretty much have the entire zooplankton metagame on lock. They're one of the most numerous builds in the entire game, and can survive almost anywhere due to a multitude of elemental resistances. They're almost like water bears in a way, except in addition to being quite durable, they're also easily the most mobile of all plankton builds. Most other zooplankton only start out in that weight class, using their microscopic size to avoid detection from larger predators. However, as they level up, they increase in size and
I like how this list goes from like small, but a bit bigger, to direct micro now.
phase out of the planktonic metagame entirely. However, while in their planktonic stage, they're usually not super competitive, as they've spent all of their evolution points on abilities that they only unlock later on. Copepods, on the other hand, are fully optimized to max out their viability against other zooplankton, and thus completely dominate the meta in that space. They're not completely invincible, of course, and do often get taken down by colonial microbes, such as the Portuguese man-o'-war and its relatives. But among free-roaming zooplankton, copepods reign pretty much uncontested in their niche. This is especially problematic for human mains, because copepods also ally with Vibrio bacteria to gain the bioluminescence ability, but can also transmit the deadly disease cholera.
Yeah, I was about to say that when I see shit like that, it's like, I still remember when I was a kid, I don't know, in here, there was a thing, right? It rained a lot, right? And it was like somewhat flooding. And I don't know, there was they showed something like this, like how the video was microbes basically in news, like some kind of microbe like this is like some kind of outbreak type of thing. Was it an outbreak? I don't know, but that was like a fear thing right there, right? That, make sure you wear shoes or something, otherwise it will get inside your food or something. I don't know if it was all real or was it just like, but I remember being in fear, like, what the fuck? Like, I got even afraid when my feet got wet when I went to school, right? Not feet, boots. Boots got wet. Like, what the fuck? Did he get in? And it's just like, there was a real OCD level of fear back then. So whenever I see something like this, oh my god, can it affect humans? But yeah, I guess it carries cholera things, right? Germs and things. So yeah, there you go. It's really surprising to see like micro level things like that also fights for survival, right? So somebody should make video about that, like how, same thing, how the fish fight and for survival food chain. There's like also food chain at that level, right? Small things that you can only see with microscope fighting with each other.
And at the top of our list, in A tier, we have the mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp is famously one of the most stacked builds the game has ever seen, at least when it comes to offense. Instead of the standard crustacean grappling claws, mantis shrimp opt for either raptorial blades or bludgeoning clubs, which they can swing with truly unparalleled strength. These attacks,
I know this. Which channel is that? Like physics something. There was a channel where I'm pretty sure it was like very recently where I saw a shot where like this is considered the fastest punch or something. What is her channel's name? I forgot, but she basically showed this, like how this is basically scientifically the fastest punch or something. Just doing this.
Devastating damage to any player unlucky enough to be caught on the receiving end. And in many cases, these attacks result in a one-hit kill. Now, the mantis shrimp has a lot of hype and attention surrounding it, with a lot of players decrying the mantis shrimp as OP and broken and so on. The hype around its power stat is absolutely deserved. However, we can't forget that this build has a body plan roughly similar to the build that I've rated second lowest on this tier list. Their large, less heavily armored Pleon sticks out quite far from their carapace, which can leave them vulnerable to ambush attacks, just like a regular shrimp or lobster, which is not an uncommon occurrence given their lack of camouflage. In addition, their small fins and small legs don't exactly translate to a high mobility stat, which is why, despite the fact that they're packing incredible heat, mantis shrimp usually only hunt the absolute slowest of prey, clams, scallops, and snails. This isn't a bad thing at all. In fact, I think the existence of a proper tank buster build is healthy for the overall metagame. But I do think the power of the Mantis Strip gets exaggerated a lot on forums and discussion boards. Abilities like being able to see color and polarize light in a unique way, or the bonus sonic damage effect their punches create, these are fun little quirks, but I don't think they significantly affect the Mantis Shrimp's place on the tier list.
Yeah, I like, how basically TierZoo basically shows this as a video game. And sometimes feels like a video game, right? Because let's say this Mantis Strip has like that kind of powerful punch, right? One punch attack, so it's like a really, really powerful in that way. So it will be slower, right? It's like, it feels like game is balanced somehow. Somebody like nerfed certain things just to make it balanced. Every time I come across something like this, it will be like that. You rarely feels like, oh, wait a minute, you can't do this also fast, and it's this, like all of it. No, that doesn't work.
Give them running legs and the ability to breathe on dry land, and we'd probably need to start discussing a ban though. Overall, I think crustaceans are in a solid spot in the current meta. Not overpowered, but not to be underestimated either. Crustaceans and insects are closely related, and are the most successful factions within the arthropod class. So it's
there you go. This is why I was creeped out, because insects are, so it is similar.
only natural that they'd constantly be compared against each other. Insects are far more dominant on land, whereas crustaceans reign supreme in the water.
Ants are just at a whole
Though
other
they're
level.
similar in many ways, insects have a lot of unique abilities that crustaceans do not, such as venom, eusociality, and most importantly, flight. Meanwhile, most of the important abilities we see in crustaceans are also found in the insect faction. Sturdy defensive armor, the ability to equip shells of defeated tanks, quick burst mobility, regenerating limbs, these are all things insects can do too. I will give credit where it's due though. Crustaceans do have an edge when it comes to that regen perk I mentioned. Insects can regenerate every time they molt, but insects actually stop molting once they reach their level cap and can no longer regenerate after that. This coincides with insects getting their wings, which is kind of paradoxical because it means their most fragile feature is also the only feature they can never regenerate. Crustaceans, by contrast,
Again, like a
continue
balancing
to molt
thing.
and regenerate even after reaching their full potential, reinforcing the idea that crustaceans are a more beginner-friendly build.
I'm getting this balancing. I don't know. If it were too OP, I guess by evolution it would have been wiped out somehow. For I don't know, like some animals would gang up or something. I don't know. So is it balanced because evolution made it so? Every time you hear like you said, like something that's like really unique to it, it can regenerate because maybe there was something that was like that. It could regenerate. It dominated a lot of things until something dominated it and it just went extinct type of way. It could be evolution is making things balanced. Who knows? But yeah.
Crustaceans are arthropods, one of the most diverse factions in the game. And while many are important parts of their ecosystems, many others, including the copepods mentioned in this video, can carry diseases. These diseases can devastate communities that don't have the infrastructure to prevent them. And unfortunately, these same communities are often the ones least equipped to fight off these same diseases. It's the season of giving, and if you're anything like me, you want to help but worry that your donations could go much further and do a lot more good if used in the most efficient way. This is where today's sponsor GiveWell comes in. GiveWell was founded to help donors with that exact dilemma. They pore over independent studies and charity data to help donors direct their funds to evidence-backed organizations that are saving and improving lives. For example, on GiveWell, I was able to find that one of the best ways to prevent malaria, the disease transmitted by another arthropod, the infamous mosquito, is to donate to organizations that focus on providing nets and medicine to communities in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, that is so true. Right now, the one thing I've noticed in recent years, the biggest fear people have of giving to charities is they don't trust the charities, and sometimes they're their thing is justified. Some people take charity and they just abuse the money when you realize most of their money went to somebody's pocket rather than helping somebody. So yeah, organization like this would be better. People would be more comfortable, giving money if they know where it is actually going. So yeah. Go to origin video page link, and from there I guess go to secure.givewell.org forces. Yeah, go to origin video page link. From there click out the link, and yeah, TierZoo is gonna match your donation up to $100 apparently. So yeah. So crustacean, yeah, this was interesting. I didn't know there was that many lobsters, crabs, and all this were different in the first place. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, that that mantis crab is punch is really OP, right? Just like one punch, it just broke the fucking claw. That's that's insane. Alright, well, that was the crustacean tier list by channel TierZoo. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. You'll be helping out this channel a lot by helping the algorithm and things. If you haven't seen my other reactions, check out the link in the description or end cards right now. I have Instagram now, only social media I have. if you know what I'm up to or whatever, also link a decision, and I'll see you next time.